In a world filled with loneliness and pain, Calum, a 16-year-old boy, feels invisible at school, bullied and ignored by his peers. Each day is a struggle as laughter and taunts surround him, deepening his despair. Seeking escape, he finds solace in the library, where an ancient book about dragons and magic sparks a desire for acceptance and power within him. Little does he know, this longing will lead him on a journey that changes everything, setting the stage for a fateful pact that will bind his destiny. Calum walked through the crowded school hallways, feeling invisible. At 16, he was just a shadow among his peers, a ghost drifting through laughter and chatter that felt miles away. The air buzzed with energy, but to him, it was only a reminder of his isolation. He kept his head down, hoping to blend in, to be unnoticed. But the sharp words of his classmates cut through the noise. "Look at Calum. Is he even real?" One boy snickered, his friends joining in with cruel laughter. Calum's heart sank. He wanted to vanish, to escape the piercing gazes and mocking voices. Every day felt like a battle, and he was losing. He quickened his pace, wishing he could find a safe haven, a place where the weight of loneliness would lift for just a moment. He slipped into the library, a sanctuary filled with the scent of old pages and whispered secrets. It was quiet here, a contrast to the chaos outside. Calum walked between the shelves, running his fingers along the spines of books, seeking comfort in their stories. He stopped suddenly when something caught his eye. An ancient book, its cover worn and dusty, seemed to beckon him. "What's this?" he murmured to himself, pulling it from the shelf. The title read, "Dragons and Magic," and he felt a flicker of excitement. His heart raced as he opened it, revealing illustrations of majestic dragons soaring through vivid skies. As he read, Calum's imagination ignited. He could almost hear the roar of the dragons, feel their power coursing through him. For the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of hope. "What if I could be like them?" he whispered, his eyes wide with possibility. The words on the pages spoke of bravery and acceptance, things he yearned for but rarely felt. But as he delved deeper, something more profound stirred within him. The stories were not just about dragons. They were about transformation and the pursuit of strength. Calum felt a longing, a desperate wish to escape his reality. He closed his eyes, envisioning a world where he was not the target of laughter, but the center of admiration, where he could command respect with a single word. "Is it wrong to want that?" he questioned softly, glancing around the empty library as if seeking an answer from the quiet. In that moment, Calum felt the weight of his isolation press heavier upon him. He longed for power, not just to stand tall, but to change the narrative of his life. "What if I could change everything?" he thought, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. He had never considered the idea of magic being real, but the stories whispered to him in ways he could hardly comprehend. He flipped through the pages, absorbing tales of mighty dragons and brave heroes, each story feeding his desire for acceptance. "Maybe this is my way out," he pondered, feeling a sense of urgency building within him. Each word he read fueled his imagination, igniting a flame of hope where there had only been darkness. As Calum read on, he noticed a peculiar illustration, a dragon with shimmering scales, its eyes filled with wisdom and ancient power. The dragon seemed to call to him, urging him to believe in the impossible. "Could I really do something like that?" he asked the empty room, his voice barely above a whisper. A flicker of determination sparked within him. Maybe he could find a way to shift his fate, to turn the tides of his isolation. What would it take? How far would he go? The questions danced in his mind, swirling like the dust motes in the sunlight filtering through the library windows. Calum closed the book, heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The stories had awakened something deep inside him, a desire for change, for power, for a life beyond the shadows. He could see a path ahead, but he knew it would not be easy. The weight of his isolation felt heavier than ever, but now it was paired with a flicker of hope. What would he do next? The journey had just begun, and Calum was ready to chase the light, no matter where it led him. Calum felt a pull in his heart as he stepped away from the safety of the library. The whispers of the ancient book still echoed in his mind. He wanted more than just to escape his daily torment. He wanted to discover something magical, something that could change his life. He had heard stories about the mystical forest of Lyra, a place where magic thrived and secrets lay hidden. With each step he took, the world around him changed. The trees grew taller, their branches twisting into the sky like ancient fingers. The air was thick with the scent of moss and damp earth. Calum's heart raced with excitement and fear. What if I find something amazing? He thought as he pushed deeper into the woods. As he wandered, the sunlight dimmed, filtered through a canopy of leaves. Strange sounds filled the air, a mix of rustling leaves and distant calls from unseen creatures. Calum felt small in the presence of the towering trees, but he also felt alive. "This is it," he whispered to himself. "This is where I belong." After walking for what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a stone altar, covered in vines and glowing with an eerie light. Calum approached it cautiously, his heart pounding. "What is this place?" he murmured, tracing his fingers over the cool stone. Suddenly, a low growl resonated through the clearing. Calum froze, his breath hitching in his throat. From the shadows emerged a massive figure, scales shimmering like emeralds in the dim light. It was Drakthar, a dragon of legend, a creature of immense power chained by dark magic. "You should not have come here, boy," Drakthar warned, his voice rumbling like thunder. "This place is not for the faint of heart." "I didn't mean to disturb you," Calum stammered, taking a step back. "I just wanted to explore." Drakthar's eyes glowed fiercely. "Exploration can awaken dangers long forgotten. You have stirred the magic that binds me." Calum felt a strange connection to the dragon, a mix of fear and fascination. "What can I do?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Can I help you?" Drakthar studied him, a flicker of intrigue crossing his fierce features. "Help me? Few would dare to even approach. But you seek power and freedom. Perhaps we can help each other." Calum's heart raced at the thought. "What do you mean?" he asked eagerly. The dragon leaned closer, his breath warm against Calum's skin. "Make a pact with me. I will grant you power like you have never known, but in return, you must help me break these chains." Calum hesitated. The weight of the decision weighed heavily on him. "What if I can't? What if I fail?" "Then you will lose everything," Drakthar replied, his voice a low growl. "But if you succeed, you will gain strength beyond your imagination." Taking a deep breath, Calum felt the thrill of possibility surge within him. "I want to be free from my pain. I want to be powerful," he declared, determination shining in his eyes. "I'll do it. I'll help you." A dark smile crossed Drakthar's face, revealing sharp teeth. "Then we are bound together, boy. Power for freedom." As they sealed their pact, a surge of energy coursed through Calum, filling him with a sense of exhilaration. But as the moment passed, doubt crept in. He felt a chill in the air, a shadow lurking just out of sight. "What have I done?" he whispered to himself, fear washing over him. Drakthar's voice echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder of the weight of their bond. "Embrace your power, but tread carefully. Darkness follows those who seek it." Calum left the clearing with a mix of excitement and unease. As he made his way back through the forest, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had opened a door that could not be closed. The thrill of power was intoxicating, but the darkness that came with it loomed ever closer. He glanced back at the forest, its shadows stretching like fingers toward him. What have I truly unleashed? He wondered. The answer hung heavily in the air, a promise of adventure and danger that lay ahead. As Calum walked through the halls of his school, he felt a new power coursing through him. Each step echoed with the thrill of his recent pact with Drakthar. The whispers and laughter of his classmates felt different now, almost like a distant memory. He could almost laugh along with them, reveling in the thought of confronting the bullies who had tormented him for so long. One day, as he entered the cafeteria, he spotted Ethan and his gang sitting at their usual table. They were laughing, their voices loud, and their mockery of others filled the air. Calum's heart raced. He could feel the energy bubbling inside him, urging him to unleash it. He approached their table, the shadows of the past creeping into his mind. "Look who it is," Ethan sneered, looking up from his food. The ghost finally decided to show up. Calum's hands clenched into fists. The thrill of vengeance surged within him, pushing him forward. "You think you can just keep bullying me? Not anymore." Ethan's laughter faded, replaced by confusion. "What are you going to do? Throw a book at us?" In that moment, Calum felt the magic spark around him. A flicker of fire danced at his fingertips. "I can do more than that," he replied, his voice steady. But as he summoned the flames, a wave of doubt washed over him. What would happen next? Would he really hurt them? A flashback struck him, moments spent in the library, longing for friends, for acceptance. He remembered the kind faces of those who had once reached out to him. The thought of hurting anyone filled him with guilt. Suddenly, Drakthar's voice echoed in his mind. "Power comes with responsibility, Calum. Do not let your anger blind you." Calum hesitated. He looked around the cafeteria, seeing the faces of students who had once been indifferent, now watching with wide eyes. They did not deserve to witness this. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside him. "Calum, are you really going to do this?" A voice piped up from the back. It was Mia, a girl from his class. She had always been kind, even when others were not. Her eyes were filled with concern. I don't know," Calum admitted, his voice barely a whisper. His heart raced, torn between his desire for revenge and the kindness he had always held deep within. Ethan sneered again, sensing the uncertainty. "See? You're just a coward." In that moment, Calum felt a flicker of anger, but also a strong sense of who he truly was. "I'm not a coward. I just refuse to be like you." He stepped back, the fire flickering out. The room fell silent, tension hanging in the air. Calum's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of his choice. He turned away from the table, feeling the eyes of his peers on him. "Hey, where are you going?" Ethan called after him. "You think you can just walk away?" Calum didn't respond. He needed to escape, to think. As he left the cafeteria, he found a quiet corner of the school, leaning against the wall. His breath came in ragged gasps. The thrill of power had felt intoxicating, but now it left a bitter taste in his mouth. "Why do I feel this way?" he murmured to himself. "I wanted to be strong, to stop them." Drakthar's voice returned, softer this time. "Strength is not just in power, Calum. It is in choices. Choose wisely." Calum closed his eyes, reflecting on the chaos he could have unleashed. He imagined the aftermath, the pain, the fear, the darkness that would follow. "I can't be like them," he whispered. As the minutes passed, he realized that his desire for revenge was clouding his true self. The last thing he wanted was to become the very thing that had hurt him. He opened his eyes, feeling a new determination rising within him. "I will find another way," he said aloud. "I won't let power consume me." With that thought, he took a deep breath and headed back to the cafeteria, ready to face the consequences of his choices. He was not just a boy with magic. He was more than that. He wanted to be a force for good, a protector, and that journey would start with understanding the true meaning of his power. As Calum walked through the quiet halls of his school, he felt a weight pressing on his chest. The power he had gained from Drakthar was intoxicating, but it also made him feel more alone than ever. He noticed the whispers behind his back, the wary glances from those who once called him a friend. Each step felt heavier, as if the very air around him was filled with the consequences of his choices. One afternoon, he sat in a corner of the library, surrounded by ancient books and forgotten stories. He flipped through the pages of a tome about legendary heroes and their fall from grace. A familiar face appeared among the stacks, Leah, a girl he used to talk to before everything changed. Her bright eyes filled with concern as she approached him. "Calum, can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up at her, a mix of surprise and dread filling his heart. "What is there to talk about?" he replied, trying to sound indifferent. Leah crossed her arms, her expression firm. "You know what I mean. You've been different lately. You're not the Calum I used to know." He felt a surge of anger. "Different? You mean powerful. You don't understand what I can do now, Leah. They can't hurt me anymore." "But at what cost?" she pressed, stepping closer. "You've pushed everyone away. I miss my friend." The words hit him like a physical blow. He looked away, staring at the floor. "I don't need friends. I have power." "Power won't keep you warm at night," Leah said, her voice shaking slightly. "It won't replace the people who care about you." Calum clenched his fists. What did she know about his struggles? "You don't get it." "They laughed at me. They bullied me. I won't let them do it again." Leah shook her head. "But you're hurting yourself in the process. You're becoming the very thing you wanted to escape." Suddenly, a low growl echoed in his mind, and Drakthar's voice slithered into his thoughts. "Remember our pact, Calum. Power is a double-edged sword. You must choose wisely." He gritted his teeth, struggling against the dragon's influence. "I'm not afraid of the price. I can take it." "Can you?" Leah challenged, her eyes locking onto his. "Look around you. You're alone. You've pushed everyone away. Is this what you wanted?" A silence fell between them, thick with unspoken truths. Calum felt a flicker of doubt creeping into his heart. "I don't want to be alone," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then stop pushing us away," Leah urged gently. "We can help you, but you need to let us in." Just then, a flash of anger surged within him. "You don't understand, Leah. I can hurt them. I can make them pay for what they did to me." She stepped back, her eyes wide with fear. "And what about those who care about you? What about me? You're hurting us too." At that moment, Drakthar's voice resonated deeply within him. "Remember, Calum, the true cost of vengeance is far greater than you realize. You may win battles, but you will lose your heart." His heart raced as he processed her words and Drakthar's warning. The truth began to cut through the haze of anger. I don't want to hurt anyone," he said, his voice trembling. Leah took a step forward, her expression softening. "Then you have to choose, Calum. Power or connection. You can't have both without paying a price." Tears filled his eyes as he looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in weeks. "I'm scared, Leah. I don't know who I am anymore." "You're still you," she said, reaching out to touch his arm. "But you have to let go of the darkness. You have to choose love over hate." Calum felt a warmth spreading through him at her words. For the first time, he considered that maybe he could find a way back to the boy he used to be. The boy who dreamed of friendship and adventure, not revenge. "Can you help me?" he asked, his voice breaking. Leah nodded, her smile bright and hopeful. Always. In that moment, as he stood there with Leah, Calum felt the weight of his power begin to shift. The battle within him was far from over, but he knew he had a choice to make. a choice that could save not just himself, but the people he truly cared about. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the ground as Kylam faced his bullies in the clearing by the school. The air was thick with tension, and a sense of urgency pulsed through him. He could feel the power within him, a wild energy that begged to be unleashed. His heart raced as he remembered the countless times they had tormented him, the laughter that echoed in his ears. "Look who it is," sneered Derek, the leader of the group. "The little ghost thinks he can stand up to us now." The others laughed, their voices ringing in Kylam's ears, a haunting reminder of his past. Kylam's fingers tingled with magic. He could easily wipe the smirks off their faces, make them feel the pain they had caused him. But as he stood there, the memories of his journey flooded back. He remembered Drakthar's words, the warnings about the price of power. Power is not just about strength, Kylam. It is also about the choices you make. "Are you going to cry again?" mocked Lisa, Derek's sidekick. "You always do. Just give up already." In that moment, Kylam felt a shift within him. He took a deep breath, trying to push aside the anger and hurt. He looked at Derek, at Lisa, and at the others. They were still the same, lost in their own pain and insecurities. Did he really want to become like them? Did he want to cause more suffering? "Stop it!" Kylam shouted, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You think this is funny? I am not your punching bag anymore." Derek stepped closer, a sneer still plastered on his face. "What are you going to do about it? You think you're special just because you found some magic?" Kylam felt the urge to respond with force, to show them how powerful he had become. But instead, he took another deep breath, focusing on the warmth of the magic within him. "I don't want to hurt you," he said, his voice softer now. "I want to help you understand. We can break this cycle." The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence. Kylam could see disbelief on their faces. They were not used to someone standing up to them without aggression. "Help us? Why would you want to do that?" Derek asked, his bravado wavering. "Because I know what it feels like to be alone, to feel lost," Kylam replied, his heart aching with sincerity. "I made a choice to gain power, but I see now that true strength is in kindness. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to forgive." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying his words as if the forest itself was listening. Kylam's gaze searched their faces for understanding, for a glimmer of hope that they could change. Lisa exchanged a look with Derek, the bravado slipping from her expression. "Are you serious?" she asked, her voice faltering. "You really want to help us?" "I do," Kylam said, nodding. "We can all be better. We can choose a different path." For a moment, it seemed as if time stood still. The tension in the air shifted again, and Kylam could feel the weight of his past lifting. He began to see glimpses of doubt in their eyes. Perhaps they had never considered that someone could choose compassion over revenge. Derek stepped back, uncertainty clouding his features. "You think you're better than us now, huh?" he said, but his voice lacked its usual sharpness. "You think you can just forgive and forget?" "No," Kylam replied, shaking his head. "Forgiveness is hard, and it takes time, but it is worth it. I don't want to live in a world filled with hatred. I want to build something new." The group stood in silence, processing his words. Kylam felt a spark of hope. Maybe they could change. Maybe they could all learn to heal. "Maybe we can try," Lisa finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe we can be better." With those words, the air began to feel lighter. Kylam smiled, a true smile, one that felt freeing. "Let's start by talking. We can figure this out together." And in that moment, surrounded by the fading light of day, Kylam chose compassion over vengeance. He broke the cycle of violence, not with power, but with understanding. The magic within him transformed, illuminating the path ahead, a path of healing, not just for himself, but for everyone. As the sun began to rise over Eldoria, its warm light spread across the town, illuminating the path that Caleb now walked. He felt different, as if a weight had lifted from his shoulders. The boy who once felt like a ghost among his peers was now a protector, a symbol of hope for those around him. No longer did he need to hide in the shadows. Instead, he stepped into the light, ready to face the world. In the heart of the village, people gathered in the town square, their faces filled with a mix of curiosity and caution. Caleb took a deep breath, his heart racing. He remembered the pain he had caused, the fear he had instilled in others. But today was not about fear. It was about healing. "Hey, Caleb," a familiar voice called out. It was Mira, his former friend. She approached him slowly, her eyes searching his face for signs of the boy she once knew. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I know I've changed," Caleb said, his voice steady yet soft. "But I want to make things right." Mira studied him for a moment, uncertainty clouding her features. "You hurt a lot of people, Caleb. Can you really change?" "I have to try," he replied earnestly. "I learned that power is not just about strength. It's about protecting those we care about." Mira nodded, her expression softening. "You're right. It's hard to forget the past." Caleb took a step closer, determination in his eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want to show you that I can be better. Let's start by helping others." As they spoke, a small group of villagers began to gather around them. Caleb felt their eyes on him, some filled with hope, others with doubt. He straightened his back and raised his voice to address the crowd. "I know I've made mistakes," he said, his heart pounding, "but I want to stand with you all, to protect our home and each other. Together, we can heal." A murmur ran through the crowd. A man stepped forward, his face lined with worry. "And what if you lose control again? What if you hurt us?" "I promise," Caleb replied, his voice firm. "I will never use my powers to harm. I've learned that true strength lies in compassion. I want to rebuild the trust we lost." Slowly, a woman in the crowd spoke up. "I saw what you did for the village last week. You saved my son from the bullies. That took courage." Caleb felt a flicker of hope. "I want to keep doing that. I want to be someone you can rely on." Mira smiled, her eyes brightening. "Maybe we can work together. We can create a safe space for everyone, where no one has to feel afraid." The crowd began to nod in agreement, their faces shifting from doubt to cautious optimism. Caleb could feel the energy changing, a sense of unity building among them. "If we can help one another, we can create a community where kindness prevails," Mira said, her voice rising with enthusiasm. "Yes," Caleb exclaimed. "Together, we can make Eldoria a place where everyone feels accepted and valued. Let's start today." Inspired by their words, more villagers stepped forward, sharing their own ideas and offering to help. They discussed creating a community center, a place where everyone could come together, learn, and support one another. The atmosphere shifted from one of tension to one of hope and collaboration. As Caleb looked around, he saw faces that had once shown disdain now light up with excitement. In that moment, he realized that he was not alone anymore. He was surrounded by people who were willing to forgive and work toward a brighter future. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Caleb stood at the edge of the town, watching the stars appear one by one. He felt a warmth in his heart, a sense of peace he had never known before. "Thank you, Drakthar," he whispered, feeling the dragon's presence within him. "I couldn't have done this without you. I will honor our pact by protecting this place and its people." In the quiet of the night, Caleb understood that even in darkness, compassion could light the way. He had chosen a new path, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of redemption. Share this story if you believe that healing and compassion can transform even the deepest wounds. Leave a comment about a time when you found forgiveness in your heart and how it changed your life. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.